So, Alex, is there a compatibility problem between Islam and Western civilizations? And if there is, what are politicians doing about it that the ordinary citizen has no control over?
Yeah, well, Ryan, I think the first thing to say is that I think that that's the case at many hurdles in government at the moment, that the voices of people on the street are not being heard. If they were, we wouldn't be seeing things like we're seeing here in SA with the government intervening in the Whyalla crisis. People just want cheap power, and that's what's caused it ultimately. But look, I think this comes back to one of the things we've talked about for years on end. We want people, as my grandma used to say, a person who came to this country from an Eastern European country, to be on the team. That is the simple and utter bottom line. That's why John Howard introduced the citizenship test. And I think we do have to raise questions about what is the purpose of immigration? It's to make Australia a better place. It certainly doesn't seem to be working in Europe at the moment. I mean, Sweden is now one of the most dangerous countries on the planet for young women walking the streets at night, where it used to be the safest. So it's clearly not working. And I think we do have to be very, very careful in this country. I think wherever we're looking to take people from countries that foster extreme ideologies, we've got a problem. So I'm very concerned about it. That overlays the issue of just the overall numbers. This government's taken 1.5 million people since the election in, which is far too much, particularly in places like Western Sydney and in Melbourne, where the infrastructure is already under stress. So there are a myriad of issues that arise out of this. Compatibility is certainly one.
Well, Pauline, I also am horrified that we're bringing in Gazans, we've discussed that, but at the same time we don't bring in, for example, the South African Boers, who are literally being at threat of being murdered in their own lands. Why aren't we opening the floodgates to African farmers who would come here, enrich our land, be part of, fit in with our way of life and contribute vast amounts of knowledge and skills that this country needs?
Correct. It's just not the Boers. The Boers is the Netherlands word for farmer, whereas the Afrikaner is basically the white South African who's not the farmer. So they're the ones that want to come out here. I've spoken about this on the floor of Parliament. I thought, why are we bringing in these ones who are Muslim background, Islamics, from some of these African countries, when we're not looking after the white South Africans who are being persecuted? I've got a South African, white South African sister-in-law. So she escaped that country. Her house was raided, from these people there, in fear of her life. They've actually got them now in refugee camps. They can't get jobs. The white South Africans can't get jobs, so they're denied the right to work. Then they're in fear for their lives. Cars are being hijacked. Women are being raped, and we're not bringing them in. And we're bringing in these other people from Gaza, these other countries. We need to bring these people in from South Africa to this country. And it is ridiculous that we haven't. Why aren't they doing it?
Hear, hear. Alex, do you believe Tony Burke when he says that he's only bringing in rushing through vast numbers of citizens into the western suburbs of Sydney out of patriotism? Is this not citizen stacking, Alex?
Well, it'll be interesting to know how many citizenship ceremonies of this number in particular that have been prevailed over or presided over by the minister over the last non-sitting weeks. I mean, it was parliamentary sitting weeks. He says, well, whenever I get the opportunity, I like the opportunity to do this. It's convenient how it's, probably the last non-sitting period before an election, isn't it? So, ultimately, that's a matter for Tony Burke to prosecute out there. But from the outset, it looks to me like a rush in order to get people signed up. And look, I don't know what the minister's thinking, but I'd love to know what he has been doing in the last 3 years and whether or not there's been this great rush to preside over citizenship ceremonies over that period too. I'd be very surprised.
And just very quickly, I want to ask you both on Russia-Ukraine. What are your thoughts, Pauline, on the Trump-Russia-Ukraine deal so far? My opinion is it's not finished yet. We can't judge it till it's done. But what are your thoughts at the moment? Briefly.
Look, I'm sick and tired of seeing people in wars and innocent lives being lost. The whole fact is I hope Trump can sit down with Putin and come to a conclusion with this, and that they actually come to an end with the war. I think it's ridiculous the way it's going, and I think there's a lot of things that need to be answered with regards to it. But I feel for the people.
Alex, 10 seconds.
Yeah, look, I think the most stark thing that's come out of this for me, Rowan, has been the fact that we are seeing a real estate negotiator, Steve Whithoff, who's gone in and sorted this out, or at least in preliminary terms, quicker than any egghead diplomat could ever think about. That's what we're seeing out of the Trump administration, pragmatism.
There we go. Okay, Alex and Pauline, great to chat to you both. Thank you so much.